The atmosphere in the auto world is electric, or at least it is for a lot of Canadians in the market for a vehicle. The options for EV buyers are expanding, but tariffs and, let's face it, figures like Elon Musk don't exactly make purchasing an electric vehicle straightforward. Now, John Roston is here to walk us through some of the current options. He is the founder and coordinator of Plug-In Richmond. Good morning to you, John.
Good morning, Stephen. Happy Canadian Valentine's Day.
And is it not Valentine's Day everywhere?
It is, but we're thinking Canadian today, especially with electric vehicles.
Okay, well, that's great to hear. First off, what are you hearing from people who? I mean, I know you're an early adopter, but what are you hearing from people who are unsure what to make of owning an electric vehicle? Do people still have the same questions and anxieties as they had when they were new on the market?
Well, the market has changed a little bit in that, as you say, the early adopters are already driving electric vehicles. So some of the people who are looking at electric vehicles now are a little bit more concerned about cost and things like range of the vehicle and so on. So buyers nowadays are taking a closer look. One of the problems we have right now is that the federal $5,000 subsidy has been paused. The program ran out of money. And so we're not too sure if it'll start up again in April.
I sometimes wonder if, does a person who's buying a $70,000 car really need a $5,000 subsidy?
Well, the ones who are buying a $70,000 car actually don't get the subsidy.
Oh, okay.
It's actually 55,000 is the cutoff for sedans, and 60,000 for SUVs.
Okay. And we've been hearing from Tesla owners who are feeling conflicted about owning a car made by somebody who is so close to Donald Trump, that, of course, being Elon Musk. I just want you to hear this.
I've only bought Canadian since tariffs were suggested. I've shopped with my wallet for a really long time. I don't order from Amazon. There's a lot of things I don't do, and so I certainly would not be buying a Tesla at this point.
Okay, so there's one person. That's Jean, who isn't going to buy a Tesla. Do you hear from other people like that?
Yes, for my wife, because I drive a Tesla Model Y. It was in the first shipment to BC, so I was a very early adopter. And I love the vehicle, but certainly everybody who owns a Tesla is sort of having a bit of a second thought about it. I think most of us love the vehicle. We're not going to get rid of it. The question really is for somebody who's looking to buy one. And certainly if I were going out today to buy one, I would not be buying a Tesla. I would certainly be looking at the alternatives, and there are alternatives. Part of the problem is that many of the international manufacturers actually have plants in the US, and those plants in the US serve Canada as well. So one might think we're buying a non-US vehicle, but it might actually be made in the US. So it depends on how far you want to go. But if I were buying today, I would be looking probably at cars like the BMW i4 and the Kia EV6. And both of those are not made in the US.
Now, I've seen more. Well, let me just ask you a question. You said you would not be buying a Tesla today. Is that because there are better, cheaper alternatives now, or does politics have anything to do with that?
Politics has everything to do with it.
Okay.
I think that, I mean, we all have to make our own decisions, and people, will look at it in different ways. But my own feeling is it really is a time for Canadians to pause buying American products of all sorts, and that includes vehicles.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh has gone as far as calling for a 100% tariff on Tesla products as a result of the threatened tariffs from the U.S. Do you see EVs getting caught in this tariff war?
I think it's likely they will be. We're sort of waiting to see what happens with the auto sector in terms of tariffs next month. And it will have a major impact because, of course, when we look at American-made cars, they have a significant Canadian content in them, the parts that are made here in Canada. So one of the questions is, how much does that affect Canada? But most of those Canadian parts are actually going into vehicles that are sold in the US. So the Canadian market being so much smaller, a relatively small proportion, say 10% of the cars, are actually coming back to Canada. So we do have a little bit more leeway to decide with our pocketbooks that we'll buy elsewhere. But I think in terms of, say, trying to single out Tesla, which of course many of us would like to do, there's also the idea that maybe we should be spreading the net a bit wider and just looking elsewhere besides the US for now.
Right. And I see an awful lot of Kias on the road these days when it comes to electric vehicles. Well, just tell me more about the vehicles they're making, the electric vehicles they're making.
Well, that's really interesting because Kia is actually owned by Hyundai, and Hyundai makes the Kona and the Ioniq, and Kia makes the EV6 and the new EV9. And just to show you how complex the market is, the Kona is not made in the US, but the Ioniq is made in the US, and the new EV9 is made in the US, and the EV6 is not made in the US. So even when you're looking at a single manufacturer, you really need a lot more information. We have on our website, pluginrichmond.ca, a big chart that shows all the electric vehicles and compares them. And I think over the next month, we're going to be adding information on where each model is made so that people will have some information and can, make their own decisions.
All right. So Plug-In Richmond is where people can find you and can find all of that information.
Exactly.
John, it's always good to talk with you. Thank you so much for taking the time with us. I'm sure we'll talk again.
I'm sure we will. Thanks again, Steve.
You take care. That's John Roston, founder and coordinator of Plug-In Richmond. He has been driving an electric vehicle for some time.